Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Decryption and I hope you are well. In today's tutorial we're going to look at performing this here, where you can turn your Synty Sidekicks into live link models so you can facial animate them and really, get on with dialogue and make it look really cool. It's got a little bit of work to do, but it's super cool and it doesn't take long to do. So let's get started. So if you've been set up with Live Link before, this process is going to seem really familiar to you. There's a few caveats I've had to add in because the Synty stuff doesn't directly work with it, so you do have to put a little bit of a workaround in. But it's good fun, and it's going to be so much better than having the static dialogue where they just stare into space. So this is going to be another video with GameDevBuddy because it's at the moment the only tool that lets you bring the Synty Sidekick packs into Unreal without massive amount of work. There is a link in the description where you can get 25% off of buying GameDevBuddy. It is worthwhile, seeing as the only other way to get Synty Sidekick packs into Unreal at the moment is manually, and it's going to be a pain in the butt to do. But their character creator tool is so good. We've showed it off before. It's an amazing tool that they're always putting new features in. The stuff we're showing today, I have mentioned to the dev, and they are looking to add ways to make it much easier to do going forwards, because a key thing with sidekicks, for me at least, is the ability to do facial mocap. So just come up and install the GameDevBuddy tool, and you'll get the character creator, open it up, and tap into the Synty Sidekicks pack. And yeah, generate your character. So I'm going to go with a goblin character, so I think that'll be pretty cool. I'll just randomize everything and we'll make sure we've got one where we can see his face, because otherwise it's going to be a bit useless, isn't it? So I'll go with this one, I think, with the horns, because it looks really cool. But I'm going to remove the glasses, because obviously we need to see if it works. So I'll just disable that. There we go. Yeah, nice long nose and everything's there. So I'm just going to generate this character just like normally. I'm going to set it to gasp, but you can equally do third person if you want to. And I'll call this YouTube Live Link Synty Chat or something, anything like that. I'm going to make it based on my normal sandbox character for gasp, because that's what I want it to do in my game. It'll be pretty straightforward, and that's it. We now have a custom rigged gasp character in Unreal from Sidekicks. You can compile and you can see everything works. It's got all animated, it's all there, everything attaches. If we jump over to a test map, just to make life a bit quicker for us. So inside this map, if I come to my world settings, I can just select my typical sandbox, but I can change my character to the YouTube test one. And when I click play, because it's a good idea to test it, you can see I can run around all linked up, all mocapped. You know, everything really good and great about it. Perfect. The errors are to do with my level, so... So I moved to another map just to make it easier. So to get Live Link to work, there are a few things you do need. You do, of course, need an iPhone in order to get it working, or you can record based on a video, I believe, but I've never used that way. I believe that's called MetaHuman Animator. And apparently there's a new thing where you can use webcams. I don't know. I'm using the iPhone to do mine today, but I'm assuming the process will be relatively similar for you anyway. So first thing you need to do is go to Edit Plugins, and you need to enable a couple of plugins you need to get Live Link working. So firstly, you need the Live Link main plugin. If you know what any of the other ones are, you might want to install them. I don't need them to do this process. And then the other one you'll need is the Apple AR kit and the Apple AR face support. That's because I'm using the iPhone to do it. It may be different to do the other one, so you may have to skip over this step if you're using something different, but that's what you need to get it up and working. Next, you need to open up your iPhone and you need to go and install the Live Link Face app. And then click the settings cog at the top left, and under streaming where it says Live Link, just tap that and you'll look for a targets option there. You need to get your computer's IP address. On Linux, it's super simple. You just come to your terminal and type ifconfig, and you want this inet flag here. This is your local computer IP. You don't want your world IP, you want your local one. So 192.168.1.150 for me. It'll change every time you reboot your computer, potentially, or your router. That's the one I've got for mine at the moment. For Windows users, you want to type ipconfig, Internet Protocol config, Internet Function config, I don't know. The IP config, you'll look for the same rough thing. And then on your iPhone under targets, type that in, and then click back, and then done in order to go to it. And you should see your face on the camera with like a grid texture. You've all seen it. I'm just going to mount mine up there looking at me because I've got it on a point. And then you'll come to Window and you'll search for Live Link. You'll get a window like this. And pretty much if everything's going well, it should automatically find it and automatically enable it like that. If not, if you've got a VPN, make sure you either disable the VPN because it needs to find your computer, or make sure your VPN's got local network sharing enabled. My VPN disables that by default, so my iPhone couldn't see my computer. Make sure you have that enabled so your iPhone can see it. And then pretty much that's it you need for Live Link. That's everything set up. So we have our character, we have the Live Link. Now we just need to make the character actually work with Live Link. And this is where the process gets a bit funky. I am going to send some suggestions over to Synty as well, because there are some things that need to be fixed. We'll highlight this later. And I will also send this over to GameDevBuddy, because there's some things they can do to help this process along. So the first thing you need to do is for every part that's modular attached to your head, you need to apply curves to it to make sure it can actually support Live Link. Is if I open up my head mesh, and I'll just open up the skeletal mesh asset here, you can see it's got these morph targets here. These are the Apple AR, I think it's 52 or 54 morph targets. And what this is for is if I come up and say, grab the look out left and drag it across, you'll see the eye is starting to move up and down. And that's the morph targets physically changing the vertex on the mesh. So you can see as I open the mouth, it opens up like so. And I could do it the opposite way, but Unreal doesn't use that one. So 0 onwards, you can see it opens the mouth. That's great, but as of like Unreal 5.3, you also need to apply curves to make it work. There is a link in the description to my website which has this full process documented with code samples you can copy and paste. For the moment I'm using this dodgy Obsidian paste I've done with loads of bits here. But basically you want to copy the list of morph targets I've got. So on the website it'll be under curves, but you want to copy the curves and you just want to paste it in there like that. And it won't do anything to the mesh, but it means Live Link can now take over and start using it. The unfortunate side is you need to apply this to every mesh that's attached to your head. And this specifically is both eyebrows, both eyes, both ears, your hair, your head mesh, your teeth, your tongue, your nose, your head attachment, and any facial hair. It takes a few seconds to do, so we'll run through it in real time. So I'll just scan down, we've got facial hair, I'll open this mesh up, go to curves, paste, save, back out. And we'll go down to head, because we want the head attachment to move with us. Paste, save, exit. Technically, I don't think you have to apply the curves if they don't have any morph targets. So like the helmet, I don't think technically needs it. But I do it just for safety. I've not tried it without, but yeah. So we'll do the same to the nose, because the nose is modular, so it needs to move with it, and it does have morph targets. And it is quite fun, like you can actually see as you move it, you can see the nose would move that way. Teeth, will do it to the teeth, because you need the teeth to move alongside it as well. It's going to be interesting to see what these look like, because they don't have any inner teeth, they just have front outer teeth. So that's going to be cool to see. We'll go down to the tongue, because we want the tongue to stick in and out, and the tongue is just weird. It's weird with metahumans as well. We want the eyebrow left, we want the eye left, we want the eyebrow right, we want the ear left, we want the head mesh, which we've already done, and then we want the right side, so we want the ear, we want the eye, and that should be it. Once you've done all of the curves, we're pretty much looking good to carry on now. So the first thing you want to do is scroll up to your head mesh and copy the name of it, because we're going to need it in a moment. So copy the name, then jump into the folder where your GameDevBuddy character is, right click, animation, animation blueprint, and I'm just going to search for my skeleton, and I'm going to create it, and I'm going to call it something like AB YouTube Live Link Synty Char Live Link. Because this animation blueprint is only going to be enabled when you're recording meshes. You're not going to use this throughout the entire game. So I'm making it very specific that it is for Live Link. And then back on the event graph, we're going to delete these off. And again, on the website, this will all be copied and pasted. But you basically want to copy all of the chunk of code for the animation blueprint, and we'll run through this in a moment. And we'll just paste it in, and any missing variables, so like the body, will create as a variable, the Live Link subject, create as a variable, and the AR kit head rotation, create as a variable. I've tried to make it all super generic, so it automatically attaches, and this one is pretty clean. The only thing you have to do here is hit compile, select the Live Link face subject, And in the default values, select your iPhone or whatever way you're doing it for LiveLink. Hit compile, because if you miss that, it won't work. And then the animation graph here is on the website again. We need to copy all of that and just paste it in just below, and then we can move it up into the right place and just connect it across like that. If you've used the MetaHuman stuff, this is going to seem very, very familiar, because that's entirely what I've based it on. Hit compile, and you'll get some errors because missing variables again, so just create the variables if you need to, and then hit compile, and it should be all good. So what does all this actually do? And you can see it's actually working for me already, which is fantastic. So what all of this does then is, back on the event graph, this update animation runs every frame of the animation. And all it does is it gets the pawn owner and tries to find the skeletal mesh with a tag of body. So the GameDevBuddy always exports the main body with a tag of body, essentially like so. And then it gets that body and stores it inside here, because we use that later on. Just make sure you connect the false to there, because otherwise your head's not going to work. Look, so now my head's rotating. I'll make sure I correct that when I drag this along. There we go. So my head rotates now. There we go. I've moved where the camera is so it faces right. It looks so weird. I look like the invisible guy from that movie with Kevin Bacon in. But yes, and then what it does is it gets each individual LiveLink frame here, and then it breaks it off and gets the head roll, head pitch, and head yaw. It does some calculations to it. That's what MetaHumans chose, so I've just used that. And then it stores it in this ARKit rotation variable here. Back on the anim graph, we first get the body, which is what we cached it for, and we get the pose from it like that. What this does is means your net doesn't float away from the body. It's always planted inside the body and moves with it. We then cache the pose, and then down here we use that cached pose. We get the LiveLink pose based on whatever iPhone we're using, which is why we set it earlier. And then we come across, we modify some curves to make the mouth work up and down. That was built into MetaHumans again. You may want to play with these options if you know what you're doing with it to try and get the mouth to work a bit better. Then we apply any default slots to it. I don't know why that's in the middle of it rather than either side, really. I don't know. But this controls whether the teeth have extended out or not. This just lets you play montages on your face if you want to. Layered blend by bone basically says use the body pose but then merge the face on top of it. And then this handles the ARKit rotation, so that's why I can go like that and talk, look. I can't go extreme. Look, if I turn around, it doesn't work, but it does. If I can move side to side, I can say yes, or I can say no. And then it outputs it. That's pretty much it. There was some changes on this event graph. I'm not 100% sure if I had to do it, or if it was like that for MetaHumans, but I had to flip a couple of these round to make yes, say yes, and no, say no, because it was just weird. But there could have been in the hours I was testing this out that I messed it up. But yeah, once you've done that, we can save that and jump back to this Synty chart in here. Now, I've made a couple of easy scripts for you to paste in that makes this whole process of enabling LiveLink for this character a lot easier, because on MetaHumans, you really only tick it on the face. Whereas with this, you need to tell each individual attachment to start playing the animations. I've got this chunk of code that you can copy in. The first place you go to is the event graph and just paste it in. And this LL face test is your body, so your main body, not the sandbox one, your main one. So just append that in like so. And then promote this use AR face kit to a variable like so. Hit compile. This adds a nice easy button you can use to turn it on or off essentially. Next, I've created a nice macro to modify the leader pose functions to turn them on or off if you're recording LiveLink. Because if you are using LiveLink, you can't use the leader poses, which we'll get to in a moment. So all this bit does here is when you click this button and activate the event, it gets all of the children of your body, loops over them all. You have to unfortunately cast it, but it's in the editor only, so it's not a big issue. And it tells it to play animations in the editor. And what I mean by that is if I come and drag my character in to the world, as you know, the characters just stand there doing nothing, don't they? T-posing essentially. If you hit compile, they will play the basic animation like that, but they're not animating. If you go to the Details tab and click General, you'll see the button we've added here. It basically tells them to start playing animations, and that's what we need to make LiveLink work. So just come to the macros after you've copied it, and just paste in, and you should get this here, essentially. All this does is gives us a nice easy way to say, if the current mesh we're looking at is any of these body parts, so basically every head attachment, and we're using AR Face Kit, which we should probably make instance editable so we can see it, then it either sets it to no anim class, because all of these at the moment don't have an anim class, or it needs to set it to our new YouTube Live Link one, like so. And then it includes it or excludes it depending on what you choose. What you do with this macro is jump to the construction script, right after the cast, before it sets the leader pose. Just tidy this up a bit, and I believe this is a known bug. Just drag in the macro, connect it to the cast, and connect the as skeletal mesh to the item define, and only if you're including it, we want to include it in the light leader pose like that. And hit compile and save. And in theory, that should be everything you need to do, which means that you can now come back to here, you can line up with the face, press G to enter game mode, tick the use AR face kit, and then tick the button, and you should see I can now move around fully animated. Ha ha, I am going to war. Ha! There we go. How cool does that look? And I can pick the phone up and hold it in front of me, and I can go, hello, yes, ha 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 ha. And I'm holding the phone in front of me. Now you might think, would this not be better if I have, a facial rig? And the answer is yes or no, depending what you're doing. This is something I found out today. You'll notice that if I take my headphones off, if I hold the phone in front of me, I'm going to keep my head pointing straight forwards. But as I move the phone, you'll see it says I'm saying, no, that's not right. But that's because it's tracking my head from where the phone is in the real world. So I've got a little dock in front of me to hold my phone up so I can do that and move around. I do also have a Rokoku head mount. And if I crank this open, put it on my head, and cast it in place, so I've got a facial rig now. So I've got one of these bad boys because it was on offer at one point, and it works really, really well that I can grab my iPhone and put it inside to track my face, like so. I took a screenshot of myself, but you'll see I'm saying no now, but the character doesn't care. I can turn around at this point and I'm talking away from you, but you'll see the character's head always stays forward because it's tracking the phone to my head. If the phone's moving with my head, it's not going to work. So the way you need to think about it is if you have a full mocap suit and you're going to be animating your entire body, then you can use your mocap suit to track your head and you can disable neck rotation because the mocap suit will pick that up. If you're just using it for live link, for the face, then you actually want to keep the phone mounted to a central point, and then you can move your head like that when it's out of it. Let's put that back down so I can see. But there we go. And you have full live link capabilities with Synty characters now. Obviously, they're not animated and you can move around them. And this is the part where we get to the bit where we say Synty needs to do a little bit of bug fixing on it, which is fine because I'm going to send it over and it's really cool. But there's little things like when you stick your tongue out, it's so long. I can't do that. It's so long. And the instant part, that's an Unreal thing. I don't know why metahumans do it as well. I believe it's something to do with this anim graph, either the mouth close or the teeth contours, I don't know. But the tongue just always seems to shoot out, even on metahumans if you try it. There's no smoothness to it. You can't blink, so I've got my eyes closed at the moment. You can see it's not really doing it. But everything else, like you can see the eyebrows moving, the head moving around, everything else just really works nicely. So just for comparison as well, I've got a couple of other characters I've worked on whilst I was testing stuff. So I've got my intro character that you saw at the very start. Again, all you have to do is tick the use AR kit and toggle it. And you can see we now have two characters both looking at the camera going, woo! And yeah, so you can smile, and yeah, there it is. I don't know why the teeth aren't touching. That's just, yeah. And then I can also go and get a third character because I've got my backup one. Don't know if this one still works, to be honest. Tick it. Oh, it does work. There you go. Hey, ha 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 ha. But yes, there you go. You've got live link Synty characters. How cool is that? That is so cool. But yes, does need a bit of work on all rounds, but it is very, very early, that's why. But yeah, you can officially start doing it, which is really cool. I don't know what else to say, really. It's weird watching them copy me as I talk. To disable them, simply tick the tick box and then tick the toggle animations to reset it back. You have to tick the toggle animation editor because it then removes all of the animation blueprints you don't want on there. And then you could also equally just delete them, that works too. But yeah, there you go. That's it, live link done. How cool is that? So you can of course take this now, open up your take recorder. I believe that's in what, Windows, and you do take. I've not done it in a while. But I believe you can set your source up and you can tell it to record this actor here. Remember, you don't record the iPhone, you record the actor. And then it'll create you an animation and then you can play that in your narrative dialogue or anything else like that. So there we go, YouTube. There is Synty Live Link in Unreal. First time ever? I think this is Synty is the first time ever somebody's done this. So yeah, there we go. Thank you for watching. My name is Decryption and I will see you next time. Ow.